Hello, Fatima. Welcome. I'm just going to put you on mute while we're waiting for others to join, okay?
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Okay, everyone, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello, Mohammed. Kenneth, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Kenneth, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so we have Mohammed and Kenneth. All right, folks. I'm going to start. I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Matt Devine, and I'm the founder of Truth Services, and we're going to talk about opportunities in teaching abroad. Now, folks, I'd just like to let you know you can type your questions in the chat area at any time. You can also, we can hear you as you can hear me. I can hear you as well if you are not muted. But for the sake of a quiet info session, I'd ask you to go without your speakers on, so you can click that red button at the top. And we can also go over Q&A at the end. All right, so we'll go to slide 1. All right, and first, folks, I want to talk about some of the benefits that we have in teaching abroad. So, if you folks have never taught abroad before, some of the greatest benefits are not just developing inside the classroom, but as well outside the classroom. So you can see many of the different things that our expat teachers have done while teaching abroad. Some of our girls have done cooking classes. Some of our teachers have done different types of cultural classes, learning languages, joining baseball teams, going on vacations, mentoring students as well as teaching them, and of course trying new and delicious foods. So here are just some of the things that you can do while teaching abroad. And of course, don't forget about travel. So, life as an expat teacher, folks. There are a lot of different experiences when you're teaching abroad. Every teacher has a different experience that they can make their own. Some teachers get into certain routines. Some teachers aren't as active. But you're going to hear about us, more and more discuss some of the benefits of staying active and engaged and being a part of your community while you're abroad to combat certain things like homesickness and culture shock and different things like that. So we will also discuss that as well a little bit later in this webinar. So, as an expat teacher, a lot of our teachers like to do certain things. For example, you'll see here just a couple screenshots from our teacher that has a blog. His name is Zach, and he teaches in Beijing at a boarding school, and he really was kind of what we have similar views of what we suggest for our teachers, and he's one of these teachers that buys into, well, yeah, I want to be able to display to friends and family at home what I'm doing while I'm abroad, so people can kind of keep up on my life. So everybody knows I'm excited. I'm enjoying my experience. I'm writing about my school. I'm writing about my cultural experience and traveling outside on the weekends and in my free time. So writing about your experience not only makes you feel great, but your friends and family, but perhaps even more importantly, if you can present it in a nice enough and professional way, it's even a great tool to use for prospective employers in the future. They're a lot more inclined to look at a blog or a personal website, and believe it or not, only 7% of candidates and people applying for jobs have a personal website, and it's kind of that wow factor that could set you apart from other candidates that haven't necessarily had an exciting experience like you have. If you can show it and you can prove it, such as in a blog, it's really meaningful and it's convincing to employers. So many reasons to talk about your experiences. Let's transition here into the culture shock aspect, okay? Things sound different, things look different. Even the cows sound different. But the food, the way of life, things seem very different and surprising if you haven't done it before. For you teachers that have had a lot of experience teaching abroad, you're more used to it. However, if you're going to a different city or location, oftentimes you have to start over again and get used to another way of life, a new language. So it's definitely important to embrace these differences, look at them in an optimistic and an exciting way, instead of looking at them like, well, this is something that is very strange, or I don't know if I like this. If you look at it like that, the culture shock will increase. Psychologically, it does have an effect on your brain, but of course, at the same time, it's humanistic to think, wow, that's so different, or that might seem something that I'm not used to at all. But looking at it from the positive end and really embracing it that way. For example, I sometimes tell the story of one of our teachers who shared an experience with one of her co-teachers, and she said, "I'll never forget. I was with a very pessimistic colleague of mine, and there was a woman selling birds on the side of the street, a very old woman in cages, and some of these birds were making a lot of noise." And she looked at it as like a very strange thing. Why is this woman doing it? Whereas one of our teachers said, well, this woman's doing it because it's a way of life for her. Like this gentleman right here carrying a bunch of bags to sell, and it looks very cumbersome, but it's the way of life, and respecting their culture that's new to you and being optimistic is definitely the way to go. All right, on to the next slide here. So we're going to talk a little bit about work and the classroom atmosphere. For some of you trained teachers, the classroom is it can be very, very different than what we're used to. All right, and very often in different countries, there's some teachers that are native English teachers or K through 12 subject teachers have good reputations, for teaching. And then there's about another half, we say the good half and the bad half, that are kind of careless. They're not really professional. They don't realize, they're supposed to be leaders and take their work seriously, enjoy what they're doing, enjoy being around kids. So, the first thing, with Truth Teacher Services that we always make clear is, if this is something that you're looking to do, you need to take your job seriously in the beginning. Okay, a lot of applicants do prioritize travel or just having a great time, kind of like a continuation of college. But for some of you other professionals that have been in the working world for quite some time, that being professional comes first, and enjoying your job. And then enjoying your personal life comes second, but also very important as well. So we just like to make clear that it's very important to have a good work ethic, create a great classroom atmosphere, and also on the other end, be used to and be adaptable to a different kind of teaching and learning environment. Some of you might be very experienced teachers. Some of you might have no experience whatsoever. However, you need to be open to different teaching styles. For example, that you see in that picture, that native teacher of perhaps Korea or China or Japan or somewhere else in Asia has. And if you're the dominant kind of a role model in the classroom, and you're a little more strict with how you operate and lead a class, you might want to kind of take a step back and realize you're in a different teaching and learning environment, and at times it can be about collaboration, and working as a team with your colleagues, or working with your students and realizing they have different learning styles, and just being really flexible. in many ways. Guys, I am going to stop right here and just let you know, again, feel free in the top right corner to type any questions that you might have at any time. So, locations and requirements. We're going to talk about some of the locations and requirements. One of the biggest things is, and you should all know this, of course, we have positions only available for native English-speaking teachers, and the reason for that is because we cannot supply working visas from our schools for teachers that are trying to teach English who are non-native teachers. I will also say, if you are a non-native teacher and you have a teaching certificate in a specific subject, especially a quantitative subject like math or science, there's a chance you could be considered. However, a great example is for like a school that we have overseas that is seeking a native Spanish speaker with a certification to teach Spanish. That, for example, is an exception for positions for non-native speakers. By and large, most of the jobs we have are teaching ESL, so English as a second language, to all varieties of age groups, from pre-K and kindergarten all the way up to adult classes as well. We also have pre-K through 12 subject classes, and those are for experienced teachers with 2 years of experience or more in that content area with their certification. So it's very rare for one of our international or private schools or boarding schools to allow you to teach a subject, for example, like social studies or information technology without having that certification plus 2 years of teaching experience before you go abroad. Also, for ESL classes, as you see, no past experience is needed. It's true, all you need is a university degree in any field. It needs to be an undergraduate degree, so a bachelor's of arts or a bachelor's in science minimum, but it needs to be an undergraduate degree. It cannot be an associate degree or lower. By and large, a lot of our schools, some even make it mandatory, especially for public schools in China and Korea. They really seek for the teacher to have a TEFL certification, as you see here. A minimum of 120 hours is usually what they're seeking. Sorry about that. So that's definitely something that is important. Okay? On to the next slide. Again, guys, feel free to type any questions that you might have, and we will answer them at the end. Okay, so application timeline and deadlines. So as you see here, the hiring season for K through 12 positions, they really start way back in January. So right in the beginning of the new year, months ago, and they go all the way into March. For fall, sometimes even into this month in April, and if they're really struggling, into early May. But that's very, very late for international schools. But yet it does happen. You see here sometimes there is mid-year hiring. So the schools will have you arrive in August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Sometimes they'll bring you in even in January, February, so the middle of the school year for that K through 12 type of school. And again, hiring teachers that are experienced and to teach their content area. Now, for ESL and SAT Test Prep Academies and other different private schools where they hire foreign teachers every month, they will hire teachers each month, okay? For example, if you want to teach in March, they might start to interview you back in December or January or even early February to be placed in March. Also, the biggest hiring timeline is for placements in August and September for China. And then you can see here from March to July, that's kind of like the monthly interview timeline for China, and then the placements are for August and September. So people start interviewing as early as last month in March for August and September placements. So as you see here, the months are focused on March and August, and as I may have briefly alluded to, you will see some monthly hiring during any month throughout the year for positions that are open that need to be filled. Okay, on to required application documents. So for the documents that you need, we have documents such as your background check and your diploma. Those are the two biggest pieces of documentation that you need. They vary per country. For example, a criminal background check on the state level is quite easy and can take a day or two for China or any other country besides Korea. And then having your undergraduate diploma, having that notarized and scanned as well, that can go with your state level background check. Now for Korea, there's multiple documents that you need, and the process is very, very long. So if you're looking to teach in Korea, Korea by far has the longest document collections checklist, as well as the length in process. So just closing our information session out, the next steps are we will follow up with you if you'd like to be followed up, and we can discuss things a little bit further. If you haven't entered any questions yet, feel free to take one last moment to do so, and I will stop sharing and we'll jump right in and answer any questions that you might have. Okay, folks. So I see some of you are still here. If you have any questions, guys, we can talk. I see Kenneth has just written in a question that we have. Billy, feel free. Mohammed, feel free to add anything that you might have. Ken, I see that you've written the parents that required a degree from, I believe, a top 20 university. Ken, to be clear with that, you only need a degree from a top 20 university, or top 25 university, I should say, if you're looking to teach SAT test prep or admissions counseling only. Okay, so you're able to teach other at the vast majority of our schools that are ESL for kindergarten, elementary, middle school, even high school, public and private school programs in a few countries. So you do not need a top 25 university or higher, only if you're looking to teach SAT test prep or admissions counseling. Any other questions there, folks? If not, we look forward to following up with you. So I'm just going to give you guys a moment if you might have any follow-up questions. If not, not a problem. Okay. Well, guys, we thank you for joining us. And I know this went by rather quickly, but if you're looking to hear more, this is just intended to be a brief virtual information session, but we look forward to speaking with you about those different topics much more in depth, talking to you much more in depth about specific positions that you would be qualified for, locations that you want to teach in, salaries and benefits packages, timeline and process, how you interview for these different schools and how we recommend you. So all of those different things we do cover, but each person is different. Each person has a different focus and a different background, so it's hard to break down every single type of position to the multiple types of attendees that we have at our information sessions. So we like to do that one-on-one. Okay, so we look forward to answering any questions that you might have. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at recruiting@truthteacherservices.com, and you can contact Katie or even ask for myself, and we look forward to following up with you. And if it's a process that you'd like to hear more about or pursue, we look forward to sharing some great opportunities for you. Okay, with you, I should say. So I bid you guys a farewell. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to speaking with you in depth sometime in the future. Thanks so much, guys.